Hello everyone, welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2. This is a super mini mail call. I almost forgot what it is. This comes from Timothy in Broadlands, Virginia. Hi to all my viewers in Virginia. Let's see what we have in here. So there's a card and a letter and some paper. The letter says, Adrian, I ordered a Seagate ST225 off eBay, and when it arrived, this, which is in here, was attached to the bottom of the drive. I have no use for it, but hopefully you will find one. It's an OMTI 5200 and allows connecting an ST412 or 506 hard drive, so that would be like a regular ST225, hard drives and 34-pin floppy drives to a 50-pin SCSI controller. It supports multiple hard drives and floppies at the same time. Each is assigned a different SCSI LUN based on the jumpers. I don't know if it's functional. The drive it was attached to was. So hopefully this was. Tim. Well, thank you very much, Tim. Yes, Tim emailed me about this and it sounded fascinating. I love stuff like this. Like it converts a floppy drive and the hard drive interface to SCSI. Like, whoa. Very cool. So let's see what we're dealing with. There's a lot going on with this board. Now when Tim emailed me, I did look this up and I think I found documentation. So documentation exists for this. Basically has a connector here for the floppy drive, or a floppy drive, or two, I guess. Also hard drive, the hard drive itself that this was attached on the bottom of. Then it has these two connectors here, so you can actually hook up two hard drives to this. And then this is the 50-pin SCSI connector. And I take it, based on the pin spacing here, that this screws onto the bottom of the hard drive so that you can mount this all inside your case and it's all a little hidden. Obviously a Molex for power that goes into here. There would be one for the hard drive as well. All right, so let's take a look at the ICs. So take a look at this. We have a Zilog Z868 something or other. Pretty sure this is like a Z80 embedded version. It says ROMless there. I think this is like the processor. It's like not a full Z80, but it basically operates on the same instructions as the Z80. We have a ROM here, flash memory. We have the floppy controller here. It's the same exact one that's in use on the PC Junior actually, and I'm sure other things as well. And I'm just thinking actually one of these ICs here is going to be the SCSI controller that is for controlling the SCSI bus itself. This package here that says 220/330, this is the SCSI terminator, the one that's for on this board. So both ends of the SCSI cable need to be terminated. And on the back, we don't have much, no bodges or anything. All looks really quite good. Made in Hong Kong. Tim sent along those screws and the little plastic standoffs that were in use on the bottom of the drive. Cool. All right, I grabbed the Macintosh here. This is the green screen one. I'm going to use this thing here to plug into the 50-pin connector on there and then onto the back of the Mac. I gotta say, OMTI has silkscreen markings on here, and yet they didn't put what pin 1 is. Luckily, if you have a board and it's in a similar situation, what you need to do is look for the one pin that has a square little pad. The rest are circles, but that pin right there is square, as are the ones on these as well. So that tells me that that pin, which is this pin right here, is actually pin 1. Which means on this cable here, the stripe goes to that pin right there. Now I don't really have an idea if this actually works with a Macintosh at all. I'm assuming it was probably designed to work with PCs, but it's quite possible this is Mac compatible. And the machine's not booting actually with it connected, and I don't even have the power connected. Let's unplug the SCSI cable here. Let's see what happens. That's unusual. Now I'm gonna power from this. It's one of those hard drive, I don't know, you know, the little power supplies. Oh, the Molex connector is actually broken. So that got yanked at some point. Should be fine. So as you see, the computer's booting fine with it disconnected, which is odd. I'm gonna power it up though right now. Hopefully no smoke comes out. Okay, it's powered up. It doesn't have any LEDs. No smoke came out of it. Now right here, there are jumpers labeled 0 through 7, and 0 is currently selected. Let's take a look at what the internal hard drive is on here, and it might be 0. It is. And it's quite possible that this got powered up simply from the termination power that was being supplied from the Macintosh. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to switch this from 0 to 1, and I will shut the Macintosh down again before I plug this in. All right, so with the Mac booted up, let's go to SCSI Probe again. Okay, so something is showing up under SCSI ID 1, and it's going to be hard to see, but it's simply a dot. That's it. It doesn't show anything else. But that does show that this thing is alive and communicating over SCSI to the computer at least. Now I ran Silver Lining here, and it says SCSI disk 10. So it sees this as a 10 megabyte SCSI drive. I think at this point I got to grab the manual for this thing and see if I can figure out, you know, maybe how to get this working, hook a floppy drive up, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'll be right back. All right, well, suddenly got kind of noisy because I have a Seagate ST225 plugged into this board. Now, I have the manual up here on the iPad. Luckily on BitSavers, it's available. And this board is really, really capable of doing all sorts of stuff, like the heads and cylinders on the drive is not fixed. You can configure all of that via SCSI commands. So you obviously need to have drivers that can send those commands to this thing to be able to control it. Now on the Mac here, I fired up Silver Lining, and it detects this as a SCSI disk. That's what this plugged in. But here it's asking for the heads and cylinders. So it just defaulted to this mini scribe here, 30 megabytes, and the heads and cylinders are actually correct for this drive, except for sectors. I mean, this is an MFM hard drive. It should be 17. So we'll put Seagate ST225, change this to 17. Oh, the one key on this keyboard doesn't work so well. Save parameters, and we'll hit OK. And it's actually formatting right now. I hear the drive clicking away. This works. Now I have a 5¼ inch floppy drive sitting right here because I thought I would try this out, but I don't really know how that could even work on the Macintosh. I have a feeling that it doesn't support the removable floppy drives. I don't know, especially 360 kilobyte ones like that. I don't know what's going to happen. But obviously, Silver Lining supports the OMTI controller for MFM hard drives. Part of me has to wonder if actual hard drives were sold with this controller inside the external case. So you had an MFM hard drive like this, then something like that, and a SCSI connection between the drive and your host computer. So it finished formatting, but now it's doing some kind of a, I guess, test and map out bad sectors, and it's already found 2, and it seems like it's frozen. It stopped here at 900. All right, I rebooted the computer and I'm trying again, and this time it's actually working. What did I change? Well, inside Silver Lining, there's a setting called timing loops, and that's how the software or the driver in here talks to the controller. Well, it was defaulted to the regular Macintosh fast hardware handshake, which didn't seem to work properly on this controller because I did the test. The ones I'm using are Silver Lining slow handshake, and that tested fine. So now it's actually mapping out the bad sectors. Well, it's attempting to, and it's found 1 so far, and hopefully we'll get a 20 meg SCSI hard drive in a moment. While this format's up here on the iPad, we have the description of how to connect things to this. So it's J4 and J3, they go to the 2 Winchester drives. On J2 is the 34 pin that is the ribbon cable that has 2 connectors on it. And then we have J7 on the board, and that connects to the floppy drives, and it only supports 2 floppy drives. It does say you need to have a terminator on the last one here, and same for the hard drive. And there are certain models that support a tape drive, but this one actually doesn't. I think that's the 5300 or something like that. And then J1 is for the host adapter. Now this talks about it only supporting 5¼ inch and 8-inch disk drives, and it says here you can use an adapter to connect the 8-inch drive. This manual is very comprehensive. It talks about all the jumper configurations, how you address or control the LUNs, which are the logical unit numbers. So one SCSI ID can have multiple drives on it, and that's definitely how this works. This card is configured right now for SCSI ID 0 and has 4 LUNs for 2 hard drives and 2 floppy drives, and you configure with some jumpers, how they appear on here. So I currently have the Winchester drive, which is the hard drive, set up for LUN 0, which is the first hard drive. And I have no idea if the Mac is actually able to look at multiple LUNs. Okay, well this is done. It's on pass number 2 and it just found one. So I'm gonna hit mouse button to skip and hit continue. Hopefully this will allow us to partition the drive. No. Okay, I have to exit. All right, and it says Cirrus 20, Cirrus drive. Let's pick an ID, I don't know, whatever. Anyhow, as I was saying, yeah, this is a very comprehensive manual. There's lots of pinouts and other information on the exact timing that everything works at. Oh, and this is actually done here. So we'll quit out. And right here, there's a 20 meg hard drive, available space, 19.5 megabytes. This actually worked. Let me copy some games onto it. See what happens here. That finished copying. I'm going to copy the system folder onto this as well, and then we'll see if we can boot off of it. Reading through the documentation, there's no talk in this manual about software. Lots of SCSI commands on how to control every aspect of this device. So I'm assuming for PC, for DOS, there's probably some really comprehensive software for this that allows you to actually see all the drives, like say the 2 floppy drives and the 2 hard drives, control everything. And so the Macintosh is probably not the ideal platform for this particular card. The date on the manual here is August 1985, and the Macintosh Plus came out, I think, around 1986, and that was really the first Mac that had built-in SCSI. On this page here, we have the block diagram here. So it does confirm the floppy drive controllers there, 8K of RAM, 2K of RAM, Z8 microprocessor, the EEPROM. There's a sequencer and a buffer chip, along with an encoder-decoder chip there. So I think we can be pretty sure that for 1985, this was a very, very expensive card, because essentially it's an entire Z80 computer here on a board that allows you to convert your hard drive and floppies into something that a computer can use with SCSI. It's copying the system files quite slowly. So that's the read speed, 167K per second, and that's the write speed, 47K per second. So the writing is pretty slow. The total throughput is 34K, so that's the reading and the writing per second. All right, so the copy is complete. So on a Macintosh, this is in case you're not familiar with it, on Mac System 6, and I think this is System 7, the system folder here is currently not blessed. So that means I can't boot off of this hard drive. And you can tell because the system folder icon just looks like a normal folder. It doesn't have the little system icon in the middle. To make it something you can boot off of, you open the folder and you find the system file, and you just drag it out of the folder and then drag it back into the folder. And that should have the effect of making it blessed. And now, at least on System 7 here, the folder has the little icon with a Macintosh in it, and that shows that we can actually boot off of this hard drive. Now we see Seagate 20 here, and I'm going to shut down everything, and I want to see if this thing can actually boot off that hard drive. Now, if it tries to boot off of the Seagate and it can't, it's just going to go back to the internal hard drive. And I'll know that because, well, I won't hear the Seagate booting, but I'll also see the Seagate as the second hard drive as opposed to the first. It sounds like it's working. Oh, maybe? Nope. It started booting and then it failed. So I have a feeling it's going to boot off the other hard drive now. Yep, it's booting off the internal hard drive. So my hunch is this, is that resetting the power on this controller here has defaulted it back to whatever hard drive configuration is built in. And I think after reading the manual, it says it looks like it's about a 5 megabyte hard drive or so as the default. So I bet you it thinks it's a 5 meg hard drive, and there's no like EEPROM, EEPROM on here to save your settings for the hard drive. When we formatted the hard drive, you know, I typed in the heads and cylinders. It does say Seagate 20 there. But let's run Silver Lining and let's see if it shows it as a 20 meg hard drive or as a 5 meg hard drive. And look at this, the disk has encountered one error. Let's pick drive info and let's see what kind of hard drive it shows up as. Well, it shows 20 megabytes there, but why is the cylinders only 603 versus 617? But look at that, OMTI 3110. Well, that's not what model this is, but it does see it as that. Anyhow, I wonder if the problem is that the cylinders is wrong and it's tried to access part of the disk that's beyond that or something. I don't know. Definitely is showing disk errors though, and I'm assuming that is because the heads and cylinders are wrong. So it's still showing up as what I formatted it at. The Tandon 20 meg, I just picked this one. These are the heads and cylinders that do match. Let's check the read-write loops. No, it's currently set to the correct one here. All right, well, it looks like those loops don't work. As you can see here, none of the loops are working. And originally when I did this test, I did it off camera. These two, this slow handshake worked perfectly. And I think the right loops down here worked as well. But I just picked the Silver Lining slow handshake and it worked. And now it's not, so I wonder why. So I rebooted the machine, and I mean, it's same problem. It sees the hard drive, it starts to boot, and it fails. Let's just see if I can run a game on here. I have a feeling that it's not going to work. Well, it doesn't sound super happy, but it did run the game. So wow, that's interesting. And because I knew people would ask, I have hooked up the floppy drive to this controller as well. Now right here, this is the twist part. I left it on the straight through and I set this for drive select 0. It seems to say that it can run 2 drives and it doesn't talk about the twist at all. So that implies to me that it's using the normal Sugart standard. And that means that everything is on the straight through and you use the jumpers on the drive to configure what's what. So let's turn on the Mac, see what happens. The light did come on briefly when I powered up the entire board. The motor didn't spin though. Oh, one other thing, there's a jumper on the board which I changed to configure the LUN0 to be the flexible disk, which is the floppy disk. So that the hard drive is now, I guess, is gonna be LUN number 1. So that, look at that, the light's on here. So the Mac is doing something. Lights on for the hard drive too, though. 360K floppy disk in the drive. All right, so nothing is showing up at all. I kind of didn't expect it to actually work. So Silver Lining is doing something and the light came on and the motor is spinning now that there's a disk in there. It shows up as SCSI Disk 10. Oh, really? Seems like there's a whole lot of confusion going on here. The Mac and this software doesn't know what to do at all. Silver Lining could not reliably access the disk. Why don't we try format? All right, I am just gonna type in the information for the disk here. 40 tracks, 2 heads, and 9 sectors. That would be the floppy drive right there. About to format. It's actually doing something. What? That is amazing. The hard drive light is just solid on, but the disk drive is actually accessing right now. It's going through the format process. That does not sound good. I don't think it's working. It's like trying to verify the floppy drive. It's actually reading it. It says it's tested 16 sectors. What? This is so weird. It says it has 4 write errors and 1 read error, so I'm not sure it's actually working. Let's just exit, see what happens, see if it lets us partition it. Let's just hit OK on this. I mean, there's no way this is gonna possibly work. It can't install a driver onto a 360K disk and partition it. Maximum size, NA. So why don't we put 200K. Okay, and hit update. No, 500K is the minimum. 200K. Clearly, this is not gonna work. All right, well, anyways, let's pick drive info here. Yeah, it still thinks this is 11 megabytes. So 200 cylinders, I don't think any of that is correct. I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think the Mac is, at least this software is just not capable of addressing all this stuff correctly. And I did a little searching here and just looking for information like drivers and stuff for this particular card and for any PC. And there's like a conversation on VCF here. Doesn't seem to talk about where you can get drivers or specific software for this. So there's that loud noise it makes. So I'm putting a question out to the viewers in the community here. If anyone is aware of systems that use this particular controller and the software that went with it, I'd love to know about it, because this seems like a really cool thing, and it would be awesome to be able to use 360K floppy drives on the Mac here, for instance, through SCSI to read PC disks, for instance. Like, is that possible? That'd be super cool. I could really imagine like some kind of big external case with 2 hard drives and 2 8-inch floppy drives hooked up to like a Unix machine or something, and that would just allow one cable to hook all those peripherals up for massive expansion. So there's definitely capabilities here. It just getting it all working with modern stuff, maybe not so easy. This all appears frozen at this point, so I am just gonna kill the power on everything. So there we go. I think that's all the testing I can do on this board right now. So I'm putting a question out to the community. If you are aware of software for this thing, for both the Mac and DOS, I'd love to know about it. Or if you have experience ever using one of these, for instance, maybe on a Unix professional workstation, things like that, I could really see the use case of this for one of those high-end systems. If we can find the matching software for this board, I'll make another video and really put it through its paces. But until then, that's gonna be it for this video. So thanks again, Tim, for thinking of me and sending this board in. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all my patrons. Their names are scrolling up the side of the screen right here. I really, really appreciate all the support that you have been giving me. It means so much to me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the main channel if you haven't already, and comments, and you know, all the regular YouTube stuff. And I guess that is gonna be it. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.